Hey guys, welcome back to How to Roll Dice. I'm Josh.
I'm Brian.
And tonight we're going to be doing our first impression of Blood Bowl, the tabletop miniatures sporting war game by Games Workshop. It's in its second season, sort of a second edition. This came out 2018, 2019.
That is correct.
And the first one came out much earlier, somewhere around the early 2000s, 2010 maybe, somewhere in there.
Yeah, quite some time ago.
Yeah. And so we each have, I have one team. I have the halflings. I've shown them to you. They're painted up here. You have two teams now.
I have two teams. Oh, technically I have three teams. I have two teams that I have built. One is unbuilt. I have the Khorne team. I have the Norse team. And then when I bought the two-player starter box, I have the humans team with their big guy and star player.
Nice. And so what you see here in front of us, and I'll have some B-roll playing here while we're talking, I'm sure. What you see here in front of us is the halftime pause of our first time really trying to play through the game.
Yeah.
We did have a game where we were basically just trying to figure the rules out. We're like, let's just try to play it and see how far we can get.
Yeah, game one was just basically us trying to figure out the rules, learning our teams, screwing up, which a lot of jumping into the book, which we didn't screw up
a lot. It's just like you kind of get to a point where you go, I don't know what happens now.
Well, because there's a lot of different rule sets now in this. So it's like, oh, what the heck does that mean? Oh, okay. Oh, that's what it means. Oh, that makes sense.
But what's nice is there's a few key rules that you keep coming back to, like the way that a ball behaves if it leaves the hands of a player or if it hits the ground or something. There's three main ways that a ball can behave. It's deviate, scatter, or bounce.
Yes.
For the most part, you're using deviate and scatter, and it's like, okay, is the ball doing a big wild thing, like you kicked it and it could go almost anywhere, or you did a wild pass and it's just flailing through the air, or is it something small like a guy running with the ball tripped and it kind of bounced out of his hands?
Yeah, and that's nice because it kind of shortens up everything and it doesn't make it feel so overwhelming with rules.
Right, because there are a lot of rules. For the most part, the bulk of the rules are the skills and the special traits.
Yes.
But the good thing about that is, what we did here was we have our little player rosters that have all of our player stats on them, and this is just from some free website. I can't remember the name of it.
It is
bbtc.pl.
Yep.
Yeah, bloodbowlteamcard.place.
Yep. Check it out. It's a free website.
Yeah, free website. I'm sure there's a million of these. I'm sure there's like an app and stuff. That's just the one we stumbled upon. Lets you build up a team, spits out a nice sheet, and then at the bottom from the book, I actually recorded down all of the skills unique to my team and Brian's team. So we don't have to keep referencing the book, at least. And they're in shorthand, so they don't take up that much space. But there are a lot of skills and traits.
Yes.
But when it comes to the gameplay rules, they're actually pretty easy to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
The way that the ball bounces and deviates, that's pretty straightforward. Passing, you have this nice little template here that basically lets you know what kind of a passing modifier you're going to have depending on how far you're throwing it.
When a ball deviates, we have this nice little deviation template.
It's just like an 8-sided star that tells you which direction the ball is going to go, and then it deviates.
Star, I just want to let you know that's the Chaos Star.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
So is that supposed to be a Chaos Star, do you think?
No, it's just Chaos. Chaos reigns.
Okay, well, there you go. And then this nifty football-shaped, or football helmet-shaped token, or template, which you use for a line toss-in, because if the ball goes off the field into the crowd just chucks it back in.
Hey, crowd.
And we actually, the first half of our game yesterday, had a crazy toss-in where the ball went out about midfield.
All the way to my end zone.
Yeah, they chucked it all the way towards an end zone and actually allowed me to score the first touchdown of our ever playing it, first touchdown ever of us playing this game, so rules aren't too hard. Passing's pretty straightforward using this. Blocking is very straightforward. The number of stats that you need to sort of know / memorize is very minimal.
Yeah.
You basically, you've got
5 stats.
Yeah, 5 stats. You've got a moving stat, you've got a hitting stat, basically your strength. You've got an agility stat that you use for picking up and handling the ball. You've got a passing stat for passing the ball. And then you've got an armor stat, which is basically if you get hit hard enough and your armor cracks, you can be injured. And then there's a small range of injuries that basically vary from you're completely out of the game forever, you're out of the game for a little bit, basically you're knocked out, or you're just kind of off the field in the dugout waiting to come back on.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a lot of nuance to it and modifiers here and there, but it's pretty straightforward compared to more complex, full-size tabletop war games.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a long game, but it's a good game.
Yeah. So let's get into the things we like, the things we like best and the things we like least, right?
So what do you want to go first?
So,
What do you like first? What do you like the best?
What do I like?
Yeah.
I like how... I don't want to say random in the sense that you're not in control of the game, but I like how there are moments of absolute chaos where your strategy, as simple as it may be, just falls apart and then everything goes nuts. Like, so for example, if you are trying to dodge, which is what you have to do if you're moving through another player's blocking zone, which is basically the square of spaces around that player's piece. If you're trying to move through that, you have to dodge. If you fail your dodge, they basically give you like a shoulder tackle and you end up hitting the ground. If you do that and you're carrying the ball, now you're down, the ball pops out, the ball bounces, it could bounce into another player, that player could try to pick it up. If their pickup fails, it bounces away again. The ball just like skitters around the field in this kind of like wild pattern whenever it slips out of somebody's hands or a pass is failed, or sometimes even you'll just go to scoop the ball up that's sitting in the grass.
Yeah.
And the pickup ball action fails and it bounces out of your hands and it bounces into another player. And so that kind of like whimsical portrayal of football is, you know, you can almost hear like Looney Tunes sound effects in your head while the game is going on. So I think that's its key like highlight. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes me want to play it. Do you have a favorite thing?
I actually enjoy the movement. I like the fact that it's per square. It's
the tiled movement.
Yeah. You don't feel like you're. At no point do you feel like, oh man, my opponent has like crazy amounts of movement and I got no movement.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh no, six squares. And you could kind of start, if you're good enough, like what I try to do is I always try to like play chess with it and go, well, if I move my guy here, Josh is going to move it. Oh my God, he can move it and get it like 3 different ways. I got to be more careful. I got to be more reserved with my movement. Mm-hmm. I do like that a lot because anything else is just like, nope, you got to move all the way over there and then hope you don't get whacked.
Yeah, and it's nice that the grid system kind of takes away some of the fiddliness of like using a measuring tape,
yes,
like, or having to use measuring sticks or anything like that.
Or line of sight. There's no line of sight needed. It's just literally move your guy. Mm-hmm. I like too that you can go diagonally.
That weird like only being able to move in block corners would be really weird. Yeah, orthogonally, that would be really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the movement is nice. I like how it feels very slippy. Like it does feel like you're kind of just like zipping around the field
at any point, and you're just like, yep, that seems about right.
Yep. And you can, when you want to push things, you can. Like there's an ability called Rush where after your normal movement, you can add 1 or 2 additional spaces of movement at a pretty small penalty. Basically, you roll a d6, and if you get anything but a 1, you're good. You made the rush step, you're okay, and you can do that up to twice. So if you're really in the mood to grab a little extra ground, you can, and you can add rush steps into various types of plays, like if you're trying to make a pass or if you're going for a blitz or something like that. So
I mean, that's how you got your first touchdown with me, so you literally rushed them in.
Yeah, rushed a guy in because one of my models is a catcher, specifically a halfling catcher, and they have an ability called Sprint, which lets them take a 3rd rush step.
Yeah. And
so I can actually go, my base speed is 5, which is a little lower than average, so having that 3rd step, I can go up to 8 if I rush all 3.
Which is nice because it's faster than most of my guys.
It is. Well, and then when you stack that with the fact that I have dodge, which is actually an ability that allows me to always make a free reroll on a failed dodge check, it makes me very nimble and slippery in a crowd. But at the same time, to counter that, your guys, if I don't slip away on your turn, just smash me.
Yeah.
Though, I will say we were talking about this before, it seems like you would look at this and you go, okay, you've got Khorne blood demons, and then you've got little halflings. So of course they're going to smash them, right? But when you actually look at the way the game plays with armor and injury checks, it's not size based at all. An armor check isn't based on an armor check isn't based on a stat at all. It's just 2D
a random roll.
Yeah, it's 2d6 against a static number. Size and strength don't come into it at all.
Yeah.
Strength comes into the initial block. So how many dice you get to roll, and that determines the type of hit you do. So do you knock me down? Do you push me back? Do you knock me down and push me back? Do we knock each other down? That's strength based.
Yeah.
And that's where the size comes in a little bit. But after that, once you're knocked down, armor is just straight dice. There's no stat involved. And injury is just straight dice. There's no stat involved.
Oh, which makes it fair.
It's very balanced. Yeah, I can injure you and break your armor just as easily as you can injure me and break my armor.
You hit me at one point with one of your little dwarves. Mm-hmm. Casualtied my guy and just knocked yourself down.
Yeah. Yes, it's just how it worked out. Yeah. And I should clarify, when I say there's no stat involved in armor, you have an armor stat, but I'm saying your size, like you don't add your strength in.
Right, yeah. A giant, like, my Khorne Bloodseeker,
yeah.
To your regular, like, hefty
halfling lineman,
Yeah. Just because he's taller than you doesn't mean he's any better than you or stronger than you.
So my Hefty has an armor 8 and your Bloodseeker has an armor 8.
Yeah.
So there's not even an armor difference between the two. It's not that big. There's not that much of a wild difference between the two teams. It's maybe up or down 1 point on a stat line is how different they are. So it's very balanced.
It's really depending on how you play them.
How you play them and the luck of the dice rolls.
Luck of the dice rolls, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say, so moving on to things that we dislike.
Yes.
I would say, you mentioned the length of the game.
I would say the fact that it's long. It seems to be long. 16 rounds, right? Something like that.
So yeah, so the way it works is a turn is I get to move all of my models unless I take an action that ends in a turnover, which can actually happen very quickly. Like your very first model could just trip and that's a turnover. Even if you're not carrying the ball. If you just happen to trip and fall down and it's your first model, that's your whole turn. It's done. Nobody else goes.
The guy sneezed, he lost his contact, turn is over.
Horrible news. And then the next player takes their turn. So I would take my turn 1, whatever happens. I get a chance to move all of my models or until I screw up. Then you get your turn 1 and you get a chance to move all of your models or until you screw up.
Right.
And then we move on to turn 2. All of mine, all of his, and you go back and forth like that.
And that can just get a little long doing it 16 times.
Well, right, yeah, that's the thing. So, assuming you get through most of your models before turning over, or maybe all of them, which let's, say on average you're going to move at least 50 to 70% of your team. So let's say 8 models maybe on average. So 8 models at maybe a minute per model is 8 minutes per side, 2 sides. So that's 16 minutes. Times, if it was 10 rounds, that'd be 160 minutes, but it's 16 rounds.
Yeah.
And then you also have to factor in things like kickoffs, which have random events that occur during them, and occasionally pausing to measure something with a template or lay down a template to randomize some ball movement. Right. You're easily stretching into the 3.5-4 hour range is what it's seeming like.
And it could be a bit long, and we still haven't even really locked down, we know everything that we're doing and just rushing down.
I'd say we're like 90% of the way there.
And then there's also 7s that we could try out.
Right, and I haven't looked into that yet. I almost looked into that last night going to bed, but apparently there's a version of the game called 7s, which Bryant didn't know about this, but I've played rugby. I played regular rugby, so not 7s, but 7s is basically a smaller format of rugby where you're only playing with 7 players per side as opposed to 15, which is the standard. So if that's what this is, basically just your team is 7 guys instead of 11, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I would definitely take advantage of that. Maybe you play on a smaller grid. I don't know.
Or
I don't know if you play on the whole
size
thing.
Grid. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're definitely going to look into that because if that's the same game but just scaled down slightly, I'll take that all day long.
But yeah, no. So far we're enjoying it. Mm-hmm. Still a lot to learn. Still a lot to get down.
Yep.
And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Oh, and then my one thing, because you took, I was going to do length and you took length. So my one thing is, and I only just experienced this in the first half of the game we were just playing right before we started filming this, was it seems like you can slip into a negative feedback, or I guess it's still technically a positive feedback spiral, like a downward spiral. So if you have an equal number of models on the field, there's kind of an equal chance that either of you is going to get ganged up on, depending on how you play, but assuming all else is equal, there's an equal chance you're going to get ganged up on, an equal chance you're going to take casualties or knockouts or what have you. As soon as you've taken a couple casualties or a couple knockouts, which again is not size-based, it's not like I'm taking them because I'm halflings or because he's Khorne. No. Our armor is basically the same, and then the dice rolls are just static, just 2d6, and that's what happens. It seems like once you have a couple casualties off the field or even a couple knockouts, now it's 11 versus 9 or 11 versus 8. And so you're stretched too thin, they're able to gang up on you and gain themselves hit benefits or hit bonuses, and that's going to increase the likelihood that you take more casualties. So it creates this feedback loop of, oh, you've taken some casualties, which stretches you thin, which opens you up to more hits, which increases your number of casualties, which stretches you thinner, which opens you up to more hits, which increases your number of casualties, and it just kind of spirals.
That snowball gets bigger and bigger.
And it got to a point during when we were playing where I had 4 models on the field and he had 10.
Yeah.
And there was he wasn't playing overly aggressive. It was just he happened to have a lot of rolls that coincidentally were in the casualty zone, and so my guys were just off, or they were knocked out and my knockout recovery rolls were not good. You need to roll a 4 up to recover from a knockout in between drives, and that's not even that often because a drive really only resolves in a touchdown every 3 or 4 turns, maybe,
if that.
And so you're going if you count my turn and his turn, you're going, between 4 and 6 turns before your guys that are ready to come back onto the field actually get a chance to come back on. And only at that point do I check to see if my knockout guys recover, and I have to roll a 4 up. And I kept rolling a 1, a 2, a 3. They weren't making it back.
You were just, the dice gods were not with you today.
No, they weren't. And I had plenty of rerolls. One of the things you can do is buy yourself team-wide rerolls, and I actually have 7 per half.
It's easy to buy all that when your team is very cheap.
That's true, yeah. My models compared to his models are much cheaper, which means I can get some sort of non-player benefits. I can buy reserve players, but again, you can only have 11 on the field at a time. So it's not like I can just buff my side of the field with 20 guys.
No.
But I at least get the advantage of having like an apothecary and some additional rerolls, but I burned through those so fast just trying not to die.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it just all came down to luck. The luck of the
Luck of the rolls. Luck of the draw, luck of the rolls, yeah. That's really what it was. Because we went over it. I kind of paused. He thought I was getting discouraged, so we kind of like paused for a minute. And I wasn't. I was just trying to like assess, am I doing something wrong? Are we playing something wrong?
Right.
Is there actually like a strategic failing
Well, then
here?
there was that one time too when the ball went back into your closer to your end zone, and you were like, if this was a regular game and we weren't friends, how would you play the game? And I'd be like, well, I would just try to smash as many people as I could.
Right.
Because that's just it.
There are moments when the funny goes away, and you look at the board and you go, okay, playing strategically here, being a tactical player, my best option, even though you're down, you're kind of like down a handful of players, you're not doing good and I'm doing much better, and I'm obviously about to like score a touchdown or whatever. My best option right here is to try to injure and casualty as many of your guys as possible while you're down in the dirt. Because it only gives you an advantage, so why wouldn't you?
I mean, and you can do fouls, and
you can foul. There's a chance you can get thrown out for fouls.
Right, if you roll doubles.
If you roll doubles, yes. If at any point, basically a foul is somebody that's already knocked down, you can walk up and just immediately make an armor and injury check against them. Yeah. No block required because they're already on the ground. You're just stomping on them. And if at any point...
I have done that to you.
One time, yeah, you did. And you're rolling 2 dice for armor and 2 dice for injury. And if during either of those rolls you roll natural doubles... Of course, natural doubles, you can't mod doubles. But if you roll doubles, the ref noticed and you get ejected from the field. Didn't happen to you, but that's basically what can happen. And the odds aren't high. What are the odds on doubles? I don't know the stats on doubles.
I don't do quick maths.
Not that high. So anyways, there's a lot to the game. It's not hard to learn. It's not even really hard to play.
No, not at all.
I like how fun and silly it is at times.
The randomness makes it silly.
The randomness is good. The movement is really nice. Feels very smooth and natural and realistic. It's pretty hard to say realistic with a game like this, but
stats are pretty balanced.
Stats are balanced and straightforward and easy to apply.
The abilities are pretty easy to follow.
You definitely got to note your abilities. Not so much for you. You only have 3 abilities?
I got 3 abilities. Yeah, well, I mean, because we're good at is blitzing and hitting.
Right. So that I could manage with memorizing.
Yeah.
But with me, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 abilities between my different players. And so that's a bit more to try to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could after a while.
But I mean, we're going to be playing this a bunch of times before leading up to Captain Con.
Yeah. And then right now, our only kind of qualms with the game is it seems longer than expected, which maybe Sevens will fix that. Maybe getting better at the game will fix that. But I can't imagine this falling in under 3 hours, even with speedy play.
Yeah, no, I mean, we could probably chess clock it.
If you chess clock it, again, I think 2.5, 3 hours best. I don't see this ever being an hour-long game. It just doesn't seem possible. You'd have to play mindlessly. And then there's also sevens, which could fix that.
Right.
And then this possible concept that the game takes one player, and as soon as you start to slip a little, it just like drives you down into the dirt. But maybe that's just how the game goes. Maybe that ends the game quicker. Maybe that's how you finish inside of an hour.
Slamming
just
people,
all your players are dead.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are enjoying it.
Yeah,
it's good.
I love it.
We're gonna play more of it.
Absolutely.
Definitely gonna play more of it. You're gonna get your guys painted.
Yes.
Paint up your Vikings probably just to have an alternative.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the halflings. I'm gonna buy my trees. I basically have Ents that can pick up my halflings and throw them. And I believe you can do that even once they're holding the ball. I can like hand a halfling a ball, have a tree pick it up, throw the halfling, then the halfling lands and starts running, which is hilarious. I used to do that during War Machine with Gorton.
Yeah, really?
Gorton and the Drillers. Yeah, Drillers used to be able to pick up Gorton and throw him.
That's fun.
Yeah, and it was good times. But anyways, yeah, good game, solid game. Gonna play more of it. Gonna get some more armies painted or teams painted up.
Yes.
And yeah, maybe we'll be back soon with an actual battle report of a game, or maybe we'll try to stream a game or something like that. Let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, if you guys want to see that, just bear with us. Like, we're still trying to learn all the rules. So
yeah, there'll be some pausing for rules checks, but not many. We're doing good.
No, we're doing good.
Pretty solid. Anyways, hope you guys are doing good. I'm Josh.
I'm Brian.
And we will see you in the next one. Have a good night.
Later.